Au sommaire de ce JT, une interview pour mieux comprendre le deep learning, l'apport de l'intelligence artificielle dans l'aide au diagnostic et une interview exclusive de Brian Casey, éditeur-in-chief de Ant Mini. On est sur le stand J, on est devant un mobile radio qui a l'air tout à fait normal, mais en fait non, il ne l'est pas parce qu'il a un algorithme hyper performant. Qu'est-ce qui fait cet algorithme ?
Oui, en effet, ce mobile est équipé d'un algorithme intelligent qui fait plusieurs choses. La première chose, il vérifie la qualité de l'image. Est-ce que nous avons bien fait l'acquisition d'un examen de thorax de face? Est-ce que nous avons l'intégralité des poumons dans cette image? Et une fois que ces critères-là sont validés, il est capable de détecter si cette image présente un pneumothorax ou non.
Alors c'est bien, mais c'est quoi le bénéfice en fait pour nous dans la vie de tous les jours ?
Dans la vie de tous les jours, si vous avez un accident de voiture et qu'on vous amène aux urgences, on va faire une radio pour vérifier que vous n'ayez pas cette condition critique. Si vous n'avez pas les radiologues sur place et que vous avez des équipes de nuit qui tournent, vous pouvez rater cette pathologie et du coup rester en attente jusqu'au lendemain matin. Le traitement du pneumothorax requiert une attention immédiate et donc avec cette information-là, vous savez qu'il faut absolument appeler tout de suite le radiologue d'urgence pour pouvoir vérifier ce qui se passe avec le patient et le prendre en charge le plus rapidement possible.
You ask yourself a lot of questions. Why is the answer? Gail, your company has been using AI for a long time, and now you're moving to deep learning. Are you going further with that?
So TerraRecon was always working on AI, as you said, like more automation and all of these different points. The reason why we are moving to deep learning now is because it helps us to actually build faster and better algorithm with more accuracy in a way that now we frame a question that AI deep learning can answer, versus before we had to do like a if-else statement to be able to answer a clinical question. So faster, better, and now we leverage the data that we are storing in a structured way to be able to learn from a clinical question.
To be clear with radiologists, what is the main difference between AI and deep learning? Because there's a lot of confusion around that.
So AI is the overall technique about, let's call it like a machine, a computer which can learn. And the level one of learning is just like creating like if-else statements, creating purely what everyone knows as an algorithm. And with deep learning is a way that you can just ask the algorithm, tell me where is a lung. Do there is a lung? If there is a lung, give me the segmentation. Do there is a tumor? What is the type of tumor? So you actually ask this question, and the algorithm will try to learn from the different data that you feed the algorithm with. And you just say, there is lung, there is lung, there is no lung. It learns, and then it can give you the answer because it actually learned from the data and from the labels that you provide to the algorithm earlier.
What is the challenge of deep learning? What it could be a huge success or a huge failure?
So the huge success of AI will be the AI that you are using every day. So we consider that the success will be when everyone uses AI without knowing it. Because for us, AI is a technique. It's not the end of the road. AI is used just to answer a question in a better way, in a faster way. And the big failure of AI will be that there is a lot of expectation today. People think that AI will change the world. It could be true, but it could be wrong. But we need to make sure that we control really the expectation of the people, and we actually don't go too far because AI answers some questions, but not all of them.
Une séance qui m'a marqué, c'était sur les tumeurs osseuses et les tumeurs des parties molles. Je pense que c'est des diagnostics qui ne sont jamais aisés en imagerie parce que c'est la nappette qui tranche. Et donc c'est bien d'avoir toujours un certain nombre de retours d'expérience sur les descriptions sémiologiques et tout pour avoir un éventail diagnostique assez important.
Je suis avec Nicolas, vous allez nous parler d'une plateforme qui s'appelle Primage.
Tout à fait. Donc Primage a été labellisé par un financement H2020 en décembre dernier. Et c'est une plateforme dans laquelle MedExtreme va participer avec 16 autres partenaires, la plupart académiques.
Qu'est-ce qu'elle fait ?
Elle est destinée à gérer cliniquement des tumeurs malignes et plus pratiquement à proposer des outils de détection, caractérisation, diagnostic, aide au choix thérapeutique et suivi des patients dans le temps.
Donc elle est pronostic, diagnostic et suivi des patients.
Donc la plateforme va être appliquée à 2 cas d'usage, des cancers pédiatriques du cerveau, le neuroblastome qui est le cancer le plus fréquent avec 40 000 cas par an et le gliome pontique diffus qui atteint à peu près 4000 enfants par an en Europe et qui a un taux de mortalité extrêmement élevé.
Ce que j'ai particulièrement apprécié au cours de ce congrès, c'était l'exposition technique, notamment concernant l'intelligence artificielle. J'ai été vraiment étonné de voir à quel point les industriels étaient avancés dans ce domaine. Et je pensais notamment à l'entreprise de Hugues Harvey, Chiron Medical, avec sa solution MIA pour la détection automatisée des cancers du sein. Je pense que c'est porteur d'espoir pour changer les pratiques, changer la radiologie et évoluer vers une médecine de précision.
I'm with Brian. Brian, you're the editor-in-chief of OntMini.com. What is your take on the show?
Well, ECR is one of my favorite shows to go to. I mean, it's Vienna's a lovely town. They really do a great job here, as you can see, you know, with the culture, the music, you know, bringing the different countries that are contributing to life. So it's really a wonderful show to come to.
What would be the main differences between RSNA and ECR?
Well, RSNA it's like America. It's huge, you know, it's really big, and sometimes it can be really hard to navigate. ECR is a little bit more, it's more compact. Everything is kind of in one place here. It's not quite as big. I mean, it's maybe half the size of RSNA, but it has a little more flavor, a little more flair. So there's differences between the two.
Well, artificial intelligence is everywhere, but I think that cloud and the platform are the rising star.
I think you're right. I think that the similarities between the U.S. and between Europe right now are in the interest in artificial intelligence. And so when we were in Chicago, I think we talked a little bit about that and how AI was so important. That interest is carried over here into Europe. And there are kind of some subtle differences. I think that Europe right now is very interested in the ethical use of AI, and I think this is something actually in France. They've been leading the way here. And how do we make sure that this technology is used in an ethical way? Because, you know, there are a lot of really major implications to artificial intelligence, not just in radiology, but in a lot of other ways as well. Another common area is how is AI going to be used in clinical practice in radiology? So how do you get an app? You know, are you going to have to go to each app developer, each AI app developer's website to download it? Or is there going to be a platform, kind of like an iTunes for AI in radiology, that if you need something, you can just go there and grab it? Or is it going to be built right into your workstation? So the radiologist is working on reading a case, and maybe down in the bottom of their screen, there's a little button that says, you know, AI, and so and they can just kind of click in and out of that. And there's also a lot of ways that AI is going to work that go beyond analyzing images. I mean, I talked to one vendor a couple days ago, and they said that they're using AI to try to figure out which patients might not show up for their exams. And I think this was research that was going on in France as well, where they took a lot of different factors, like what kind of disease the patient had, how old the patient was, what day their appointment was scheduled, and then even what the weather was like, to try to figure out whether they would be a no-show or not. Because if a patient doesn't show up for an MRI scan, that's very expensive for a hospital. So by applying AI, they could find out, hey, you know, there's a chance that this patient might not show up for this exam. Maybe we shouldn't schedule them at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. You know, maybe they should be at a different time. So those are a lot of really practical ways to use AI that a lot of the discussion here at ECR is talking about.
Very quickly, what is the must-see on this show?
I would probably have to say AI. You know, if you are here at the meeting, you know, hopefully people are walking around looking at AI. The AI showcase over in the other hall has a lot of great AI vendors and a lot of great AI talks. AI is really kind of taken over here, so I really think that if you're coming to ECR, that's really the thing that you want to take a look at. That's kind of the must-see.